The drums of Ayanfe village had always spoken the truth. They spoke during birth. They spoke during death. They spoke when joy entered a home and when betrayal crawled like a snake in the dark. On the morning Zinara decided to surprise her husband, the drums were silent. That silence was the first warning. Zinara was a black woman of deep strength and quiet fire. Her skin shone like polished ebony under the early sun. Her eyes carried the patience of river water and the sharpness of a hunter's spear. She was known in the village as a woman who laughed softly but thought deeply. She tied her wrapper carefully, choosing the red one her husband loved. She braided her hair and rubbed shea butter on her arms until they glowed. In her woven basket, she placed roasted yams, spiced meat, and palm wine. It was not a festival day, but her heart felt festive. Today, she would surprise Kola, her husband. Kola worked at the royal storehouse near the king's compound, where traders from far lands brought salt, cloth, and iron. Zinara rarely visited him there. A wife's place, the elders often said, was the home. But Zinara believed love should walk freely, like wind through tall grass. As she stepped onto the dusty path, the savannah stretched wide and golden before her. Birds flew low. The wind whispered through dry grass. Somewhere in the distance, a horn blew from the hills. She smiled. But the earth did not smile back. At the edge of the forest, Zinara met old Mother Tamba, the village seer. The old woman sat beneath an iroko tree, grinding herbs. Her eyes were cloudy, but they saw more than most. Mother Tamba stopped grinding. "Daughter," she said slowly, "where does your heart walk today?" Zinara laughed lightly. "To my husband. I carry him food and love." The old woman's fingers tightened around the stone. "Be careful," she whispered. "Not all surprises bring joy. Some open doors best left closed." Zinara felt a brief chill, but she pushed it away. Fear had no place in her basket today. She bowed respectfully and continued. As she walked closer to the king's compound, the air changed. The smell of smoke mixed with metal and sweat. Guards stood tall with spears, their shadows long on the ground. Workers moved in and out of the storehouse. Zinara adjusted her wrapper and lifted her chin. She was proud to be Kola's wife. She reached the entrance. A young guard stepped forward. "Woman, state your business." "I bring food for my husband, Kola, son of Aid," Zinara said calmly. The guard frowned. He turned to another guard. They exchanged looks. "Which Kola?" the first guard asked. Zinara laughed softly. "There is only one Kola who works here." The second guard cleared his throat. "You must be mistaken." Zinara's smile faded. "Mistaken about my own husband." The first guard shifted his spear. "Kola belongs to Lady Nari." The word struck like thunder. "Belongs." Zinara repeated. "What foolish joke is this?" The guard looked uncomfortable. "Lady Nari is his wife. She arrived this morning with her servants. She entered proudly, as a wife should." The basket slipped from Zinara's hands. Palm wine soaked into the dust. Meat rolled across the ground. The smell of food rose, but Zinara could not smell it anymore. "No," she whispered. "You lie." The guard pointed toward the inner compound. "Ask the elders inside." Her legs trembled as she stepped forward. Every step felt like walking on broken glass. Inside the compound, women laughed softly. Servants moved quickly. At the center stood Lady Nari. She was tall, dressed in fine cloth dyed deep blue. Gold rings circled her fingers. Her head was held high, her smile sharp and proud. And beside her stood Kola. Zinara's heart stopped. Kola looked comfortable. He laughed at something Lady Nari said. He leaned toward her. His hand brushed her arm. Zinara stepped forward. "Kola." Her voice cracked the air like a whip. Silence fell. Kola turned. Their eyes met. For a moment, the world froze. The wind stopped. Even the birds fell silent. Kola's face drained of color. "Zinara," he said, too softly. Lady Nari turned slowly. Her eyes scanned Zinara from head to toe, measuring, judging. "And who is this?" she asked coldly. Before Kola could speak, Zinara found her voice. I am his wife. A sharp laugh cut the air. Lady Nari smiled. Impossible. I am his wife. The bride chosen by elders. The woman he married before the ancestors. The ground seemed to tilt. Zinara's chest burned. You lie. Kola and I were married under the moon, before the village, before the spirits. Murmurs spread. An elder stepped forward, his beard white as ash. This matter is heavy, he said. Very heavy. Kola opened his mouth, then closed it again. That silence was louder than any scream. Zinara felt something ancient stir inside her. A pain older than tears. A rage passed down through mothers and grandmothers who had been lied to, hidden, erased. The drums began to beat. Slow, deep, angry. Somewhere beyond the compound, thunder rolled, though the sky was clear. Zinara straightened her back. She looked at Kola, then at Lady Nari, then at the elders. This is not finished, she said quietly. The ancestors have heard. As she turned away, the wind rose, carrying dust and whispers. Behind her, the drums beat on. And in the spirit world, something had awakened. Zinara did not cry as she walked away from the king's compound. Her tears stayed trapped inside her chest, heavy like stones. The drums followed her steps, beating slowly, as if counting her breaths. Each beat echoed through her bones. The sun burned above, but Zinara felt cold. People watched her pass. Women whispered behind their hands. Men lowered their eyes. Children stopped playing. News moved faster than wind in Ayanfe village. She was not the only wife. He hid another woman. The ancestors will not be silent. Zinara entered her hut and closed the door. Darkness wrapped around her like a thick cloth. The smell of old wood and ash filled the room. She sank to the floor. Only then did the tears fall. They came like rain after long drought. Her body shook. Her breath broke. She pressed her palm to her mouth to stop herself from screaming Kola's name. She remembered his promises. You are my only home, he had said. My heart knows only you. Our ancestors bless us. Lies. As night approached, the wind grew restless. Palm leaves rattled like bones. The sky darkened quickly, swallowing the sun. Zinara lit a small fire. Its orange glow danced on the walls, throwing long shadows. A knock came at the door. Zinara froze. Another knock. Slow. Heavy. Zinara, a voice called. Open. It was Elder Somina, one of the oldest women in the village. Zinara rose and opened the door. Elder Somina entered, leaning on her staff. Her eyes were sharp, her face carved by years of truth and pain. I warned him, the elder said quietly. I warned him the spirits do not accept hidden wives. Zinara swallowed. Then why did he do it? Because men think silence protects them, Elder Somina replied. But silence feeds darkness. The elder sat near the fire. She reached into her pouch and pulled out white chalk and bitter leaves. The ancestors are restless, she continued. They whispered to me last night. A woman cried in the spirit river. Zinara's heart tightened. What must I do? Elder Somina looked at her closely. First, you must listen. Then, you must decide if you want justice or peace. You cannot have both. Before Zinara could answer, a cold wind rushed through the hut, blowing the fire low. The door creaked open by itself. A voice filled the room. Low. Ancient. Female. Zinara. Her blood turned to ice. The elder stood quickly and bowed. Ancestor. A shape formed near the fire. A tall woman, made of smoke and moonlight. Her eyes glowed like embers. Her hair flowed like dark water. I am Nyalira, the spirit said. Mother of forgotten wives. Zinara dropped to her knees. Nyalira stepped closer. Your pain has crossed the veil. It called me. The spirit touched Zinara's forehead. Images flooded her mind. She saw Kola kneeling before elders in another village. She saw him placing beads around Lady Nari's neck. She saw sacrifices made in secret. She saw lies buried under ritual words. He married twice, Nyalira said. Without truth. Without balance. This breaks sacred law. Zinara trembled. What will happen? That depends on you, the spirit replied. If the lie stands, the land will suffer. If the truth rises, blood may fall. Thunder growled outside. The spirit faded, leaving the smell of rain and ash. Elder Somina exhaled slowly. You are chosen now, child. That night, Zinara did not sleep. At dawn, Kola came. He stood outside her hut, his head bowed. He did not enter. I was afraid, he said. Lady Nari's family is powerful. They threatened me. I thought I could protect you both. Zinara laughed bitterly. By turning me into a shadow. Silence stretched between them. I still love you, Kola whispered. Zinara's eyes hardened. Love without truth is poison. She closed the door. Elsewhere, Lady Nari stood before her mirror, adjusting her gold rings. But her reflection flickered. Her smile faded. Servants whispered of strange dreams. Hunters reported animals fleeing the forest. The river ran cloudy. Drums beat without hands touching them. At the shrine on the hill, the elders gathered. The ancestors are angry, one said. The woman Zinara has been marked, said another. The sky darkened again. And far beyond the village, something old and patient began to move closer. The lie had been exposed. Now the price would be asked. The river Lunara had never spoken loudly. It whispered. Its voice moved beneath the water, slow and deep, like a secret carried for generations. Zinara had grown beside it. She fetched water there as a girl, washed clothes there as a wife, and prayed there when her heart was heavy. On the third night after the revelation, the river called her name. Zinara. The wind carried the sound through the tall reeds. The moon hung low and red, like a watching eye. Zinara wrapped herself in a dark cloth and followed the call. The path to the river wound through the forest. Crickets sang. Owls watched from branches. The smell of damp earth and leaves filled the air. Each step pulled her deeper into the unknown. When she reached the riverbank, mist rose from the water. The surface shimmered like broken glass. Elder Somina stood waiting. You heard it too, the elder said. Zinara nodded. They stepped into the shallow water. It was cold, biting. The current slowed, as if the river itself held its breath. A ripple formed. Then another. The water parted. A woman emerged from the river, her skin pale as clay, her hair floating like roots in water. Her eyes were hollow, filled with old sorrow. I am Mabaira, the spirit said. The one who drowned in silence. Zinara's chest tightened. Who are you? Mabaira raised a trembling hand. I was a wife once. Promised. Hidden. Forgotten. The forest fell silent. I carried a man's name, Mabaira continued. He swore truth before the ancestors. Then he buried me in lies. Zinara felt her own pain echo in the spirit's words. The river took me, Mabaira said. But my truth stayed trapped beneath its skin. The water began to swirl. Kola walks the same path, Mabaira warned. His lie feeds the old curse. Elder Somina stepped forward. What must be done? Mabaira turned to Zinara. The truth must rise before the king, before the elders, before the ancestors. One wife must stand. One must fall. Zinara's breath caught. Fall, how? The spirit's eyes darkened. Not all falls end in death. Some end in shame. Some in exile. Some in madness. The river roared suddenly, sending waves crashing against the bank. Mabaira sank back into the water, her final words echoing. Choose wisely. The river returned to silence. Zinara stood shaking. The next day, the king summoned everyone. The entire village gathered in the open square. Drums beat fast. Dust rose under hundreds of feet. Warriors stood guard. Elders sat in a half-circle. The king sat beneath a carved wooden canopy, his crown heavy with beads and bone. Zinara stood alone. Lady Nari arrived surrounded by servants, her chin lifted high. Kola followed behind her, eyes on the ground. The king raised his staff. This matter poisons our land, he said. Speak now. Lady Nari spoke first. I am the rightful wife. My marriage was sealed by elders and paid with bride price. Murmurs followed. Zinara stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but it carried power. My marriage was sealed by truth. By ancestors. By love spoken under the moon. The elders argued. Voices rose. Fingers pointed. Suddenly, the sky darkened. Wind tore through the square. Dust blinded the crowd. Drums beat wildly without hands. A voice thundered from above. Lies. The ground cracked. A spirit appeared between the women. Nyalira stood tall, fire in her eyes. The man broke sacred law, she declared. He tied 2 lives with 1 tongue. Kola fell to his knees, screaming. The elders bowed. The king trembled. Nyalira turned to the women. One was chosen in truth. One was chosen in pride. Lady Nari's smile cracked. Fear flashed across her face. Your secrets are known, the spirit said. Your family forced this union to gain power. Lady Nari screamed. I did what I had to. The crowd gasped. Zinara closed her eyes. The truth had risen. But the cost was still unknown. The wind slowed. The sky cleared. The king raised his staff again. Judgment will come, he said. At the next full moon. Zinara felt the ancestors watching. The river had spoken. Now the fire would answer. The days before the full moon were heavy and slow, like walking through thick mud. Ayanfe village no longer slept. At night, drums beat without rhythm. Dogs howled at empty air. Fires refused to burn steady. The wind carried whispers through huts and courtyards. The ancestors are restless. The lie still breathes. Blood remembers. Zinara stayed indoors, but peace did not enter with her. Dreams haunted her. In them, she stood between 2 fires while the river rose behind her. A voice always asked the same question. Who will you save? Each time, she woke with her chest burning. Kola tried to see her again. He stood outside her hut every morning. He brought gifts. Smoked fish. Cloth. Beads. Zinara never opened the door. One evening, as the sky burned orange, Elder Somona entered quietly. The spirits are divided, the elder said. Some demand punishment. Others seek balance. Zinara stared into the fire. What do they want from me? They want your heart to choose, the elder replied. Not your pain. That night, Zinara walked to the old shrine at the edge of the forest. It was a forgotten place, half swallowed by roots and moss. Hunters avoided it. Children feared it. She knelt before the cracked stones and lit a small flame. I am tired, she whispered. Tell me what to do. The ground trembled. The air thickened. A new presence emerged. Not gentle like Nyalira. Not sorrowful like Mabaira. This spirit was tall and sharp, wearing a crown of thorns and bone. I am Kore, keeper of broken oaths, the spirit said. Zinara felt fear rise, but she did not run. Kola's heart is weak, Kore continued. Lady Nari's pride is strong. One must be burned away for the land to heal. Zinara's hands shook. Must someone die? Kore leaned closer. Death is not always the worst ending. The spirit vanished, leaving the flame flickering. On the day of the full moon, the village gathered again. The air was tense. The moon rose huge and white. The king stood. The elders stood. The spirits watched. Lady Nari wore red. Zinara wore black. Kola stood between them, trembling. Speak, the king commanded. Zinara stepped forward. Her voice was steady. I release my claim. Gasps filled the square. Kola looked up in shock. Zinara. She raised her hand. I choose myself. The wind rushed through the square. Lady Nari laughed. You see. She was never worthy. But her laughter stopped when the ground beneath her feet cracked. Kore's voice roared. Pride has spoken. Lady Nari screamed as shadows wrapped around her. Her fine cloth turned to ash. Her gold rings melted like wax. She fell to her knees, sobbing. The spirit spoke again. You will live. But your name will carry shame. You will leave this land before sunrise. Lady Nari collapsed. Kola crawled toward Zinara. Please. Zinara looked at him. Tears finally fell. The ancestors heard me once, she said. You silenced them. The spirits surrounded Kola. His body shook. Your punishment is memory, Kore declared. You will remember every lie, every loss. Kola screamed as visions flooded him. The drums stopped. Silence fell. Zinara turned away. Love had turned to ash. But the story was not yet finished. The fire in Ayanfe village had not slept since the judgment. It burned in every hearth, every shrine, every heart. Lady Nari was gone before sunrise. Her servants fled with her, their feet kicking up dust like fleeing spirits. No song followed her departure. No drum honored her steps. Only silence and shame trailed behind. Kola did not leave. He stayed in the village, but he no longer belonged to it. Children pointed at him. Women turned away. Men spoke to him only when necessary. His eyes were empty, as if part of his soul had been taken and never returned. Zinara felt no joy in his suffering. Her heart was tired. On the third night after the judgment, the drums began again. Not angry. Not wild. Calling. The elders gathered at the great fire circle, an ancient place where ancestors once spoke through flame and smoke. Tall stones surrounded the pit. Carvings of hunters, queens, and spirits glowed in the firelight. Zinara was summoned. As she entered the circle, heat wrapped around her. Sparks rose into the dark sky like wandering stars. Warriors stood watch. Elders murmured prayers. Elder Sommoner stepped forward. The spirits demand final balance. The fire suddenly roared higher. From the flames, Nyalira appeared, her form bright and fierce. The lie has been exposed, the spirit said. But its roots remain. The fire shifted, showing images, dry crops, sick animals, cracked earth. The land still remembers, Nyalira warned. Zinara stepped closer to the fire. What do you ask of me? Nyalira's eyes softened. You must face the man again. Not as a wife. Not as a victim. But as truth. A path of fire opened through the circle. Kola was brought forward. He looked thin. Broken. His hair unkempt. His eyes red. Speak, the fire commanded. Kola fell to his knees. I lied. I was weak. I wanted power and comfort. I sacrificed truth. The fire flared. Zinara felt heat on her skin, but she did not step back. Kola, she said, her voice steady, why did you choose silence when the ancestors gave you voice? He wept. Because I feared losing everything. The fire answered with a loud crack. Nyalira spoke again. Fear does not excuse betrayal. The flames twisted, forming chains of light around Kola. Your final trial begins, the spirit declared. Walk through the fire of memory. The flames parted, revealing a narrow path of glowing embers. Kola screamed. I will die. Zinara stepped forward. No. You will remember. Kola walked. With each step, he cried out as visions burned through him. The night he married Zinara, the secret meeting with Lady Nari's family, the lies spoken under sacred trees. The fire showed Zinara everything. Her chest ached, but she stood strong. When Kola reached the end, he collapsed. The fire died down. Nyalira turned to Zinara. One final choice remains. Zinara's breath caught. What choice? Do you bind yourself to his fate, the spirit said, or do you release him fully? The circle waited. The village waited. The ancestors waited. Zinara closed her eyes. She remembered her laughter before the pain. Her strength before the lie. Her name before betrayal. She opened her eyes. I release him, she said. The fire flared bright, then calm. Chains vanished. Kola cried out as something unseen left him. The fire spoke one last time. Balance is restored. But Zinara knew one final moment still waited in the dark. The fire dimmed. The night held its breath. When the fire finally went quiet, Ayanfe village did not celebrate. It listened. The night felt different. Lighter. As if a heavy hand had lifted from the land. The wind moved gently through the trees. The drums rested. Even the stars seemed closer, watching with calm eyes. Zinara stood alone at the edge of the great fire circle. The elders slowly returned to their huts. Warriors lowered their spears. One by one, people left in silence, carrying the weight of what they had witnessed. Kola remained on the ground. He did not cry anymore. He looked empty. At dawn, the spirits returned one final time. Mist rolled in from the forest. The air smelled of rain and old earth. From the mist stepped Nyalira, Mabira, and Kore. They formed a circle around Zinara. The balance has been restored, Nyalira said. But balance alone is not wisdom. Mabira stepped forward, her voice soft like river water. You broke a cycle that has swallowed many women before you. Kore's voice was firm. But cycles return if lessons are forgotten. Zinara bowed her head. What remains for me? The spirits looked at one another. Your path no longer belongs to pain, Nyalira said. You are free. At those words, something inside Zinara cracked open, not with sorrow, but with release. She felt her chest rise fully for the first time in many moons. The spirits faded, leaving only warm air behind. Later that morning, Kola came to her hut. He did not knock. He stood at a distance. I'm leaving Ayanfe, he said. The elders have ordered it. Zinara nodded. She felt no anger. No longing. Only stillness. I will carry my punishment wherever I go, he continued. I will never forget. That is the point, Zinara replied. He bowed low. You were stronger than me. Yes, she said simply. He turned and walked away, shrinking into the savannah until dust swallowed his figure. The land began to heal. Rain fell gently. Crops rose green again. The river Lunara ran clear. Hunters returned with meat. Children laughed at night. Weeks passed. Zinara did not hide. She walked the village paths with her head high. Women greeted her with respect. Elders sought her words. Young girls watched her closely, learning without being taught. One evening, Elder Somina sat beside her near the river. You could have chosen revenge, the elder said. Why didn't you? Zinara watched the water flow. Because revenge still ties you to the one who hurt you. The elder smiled. On the night of the next full moon, Zinara stood alone beneath the sky. Drums beat again, this time slow and peaceful. Firelight danced across her skin. She was no longer a wife hidden in someone else's shadow. She was whole. From the forest, the wind carried a whisper, not of pain, but of approval. The ancestors had closed the door. And Zinara had walked forward. Herb moral lesson herb. A lie may hide for a season, but truth always returns with a price. A woman who chooses herself breaks curses not only for her life, but for generations yet unborn.